So in this video, and we had the previous version of this taped, we're going to just look at how you skim and pre-read and look for context clues to help you answer questions. A lot of people say preview the questions. Okay, let's pretend you don't have time to preview the questions and you just want to see where it is, because that takes time too. You have to know which paragraph is it. So sometimes I don't recommend that as a strategy. Okay, so we did some of this in the last video, and you can compare the two. The introductory sentence, the premise, the concept of social capitalism implies caring for people. Now, here's the situation. We know the word caring has a lot to do with the article because the author stated. He also stated social capital, and that's also the title, social capital versus monetary capital. So anything that would lead to social capital, and our mind needs to start thinking when we're going to find the definition of social capital. And right here, you have that. And the next, the third sentence should include a no person left behind. So we know that this kind of comes across as equal opportunity for all, equal space, equal food, equal sharing, whatever you want to call it, as long as you know that it's saying nobody should be behind. Each community or group of communities work in cooperation. So we've seen this word before, like cooperative housing, cooperative lending, cooperative sharing. So I'm going to go on ahead and highlight this. Work in cooperation. So each community member eats, sleeps, and thrives within the community. And I'm just going to keep thrives here because that implies these anyway, sleeps and eats. Okay. And then you can skip some communities function. United States include recently displaced persons from other nations. Community members sponsor persons obtain housing loans from bank. Local grocers give food vouchers to the regions recently displaced. And Dr. Fuchev, a consulting partner at Jacobs Learning, this guy here is brought in for a reason. I'm going to turn him into green because he's brought in to add another one, as was this person here, to talk about what they're really talking about as far as helping people. So his definition should be somewhat important, and he believes federal government should be taking care of recently displaced persons, and he defines it: lost their job, fell upon bad luck, or suffer from chronic medical problems. So you have three things there that he's talking about. A specific group, suffer from chronic, lost their jobs, fell upon bad luck. Administrators invest money into employment and employment for the government rather than into entities who undermine the idea, and this is just something that said rather than into entities who undermine the idea of social capitalism. Additionally, some governments impose limits and requirements onto the persons who need funding. So you're just reading how this goes on. It's kind of contradicting itself and saying, they're saying we should have these, and then you have Dr. Fuchev who comes in and says they have these things, but then the way they work, they contradict each other. Okay, so contradiction is what I'm going to put here, to need, and then I'm going to go on to the second one. Now, this representative, Maxine Waters, she's introduced into the policy to show that there's at least one person in Congress who believed that there was a way to end homelessness, and there's a stipulation by 2028. And got into the working poor. So it's not just completely homeless people. It's people who have some unfortunate things going on, and that could be almost anybody because of what's happening with the time. And then they get into this concept of cost, and the cost is what is needed to help. And then it gets into over here who are homeless, why the cost is zero, and what really happens. And you can just think about what's going on in this paragraph. Okay, then you go into this next paragraph. Consequences are allowing a person to live who may become anxious. Well, you had to read the first paragraph. These are consequences of people who are trying to help the homeless who aren't a governmental entity. And that's just the common person feeding their own families, cannot always afford more mouths to feed. So that's yet another reason why there's so many unfortunate people and homeless people. Okay, now you have another concept here that in the meantime, even we criticize investors for raising the prices of home. Now, this here is an explanation. So you get into it costs $100,000 to fix the electricity and to make construction repairs, but then the person bought the house for $90,000. So the total cost here, and this is your monetary capital. Okay, so this is like a total cost, and this is real dollars. So this has to do with the money. Okay. Monetary capital. Got it? So if the investor wants to recover, got it? Because the investor should charge $100,000 per month so that he or she can receive the money spent to obtain the property within 10 years. Tell her thanks. This is not an example of greed. This is the problem. Compensation. So it kind of gives the light as to why investors are acting the way they do. The author's kind of saying they're not always greedy. It's just that things cost money, and somebody has to pay for me to get compensated back. Otherwise, it's not worth it for me to let somebody stay in the home. I might as well just sell it or, do something else with it. Socially compensating people, and then it gets into a person who pays $500 a month to live versus a person who pays $10 a month to live. So it's getting into how you're going to do social capital. And once you understand that, you can go back and read the questions. And then all these questions at the end are to make you think, or to make you ask questions, to make you think about what the author is doing. And right here, boom, puts it in your face. Rarely are the questions answered. Okay, about how you're going to do it. And then at the end, you have the article, which you don't have to read. You just have to know what's in it, what social capital is. Each community has members who help each other, bring up the wealthy elite, help each other. And then you have the homeless sometimes share their food, and they're both different communities, but they help each other. So, and then it gets into each person, which leads to each community. Is there a solution to helping people in each community? The true sense of social capitalism. And then the author ends here with yet another question. By the way, food costs money. How do we eliminate monetary capital? So it's kind of like a circular argument running around on itself. And that's how you try to think through what's going on, look at paragraphs without feeling that you're punched. If they asked me this, then they threw this, then they threw this. Just look at what they're asking and don't try to get into it too much to think about why it was written, what it's saying. You are under time constraints, so you have to figure out what this is, and with the least amount of time. Just a suggestion. Email us at jacobitslearning@gmail.com if you have any questions. Thanks for watching.